Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sanchari Chaudhary reporting live from the IHM Bangalore Career Studio. Very happy and humbled to have here with us today Ms Indrani Ghosh Chaudhary, who is the founder and CEO of Speaking Hat. To talk a little bit about Indrani, she is an alumnus of SIBM Pune and a certified NLP practitioner from the American Board of Neuro-Linguistic Programming. She is also a certified Balanced Scorecard professional from the Balanced Scorecard Institute, US. Indrani has a decade-long experience working with renowned corporates in the domains of HR and marketing, both in India and abroad. She's actively involved in carrying out various people and organizational development intervention in corporates and educational institutes for over 10 years now and has been a life coach to many. In today's session, she would be touching down on some very important points and facts, keeping in mind the current situation. Welcome back, Indrani. It's such a pleasure to see you today, of course, virtually though, and we look forward to your very, very interesting session.
Thank you so much, Sanchari. It has always been a lovely experience connecting with the staff and the students of IIHM. I personally really value our association with the Institute. We've been fortunate to have gotten a chance to interact with your students who've passed out over the last 2 years. Yes. And it's been a great journey so far. So yes, I too look forward to an interaction with you and everybody else today. Yes.
Yes. So let's start the session, Indrani. You would like to focus on various topics which we were discussing the last day on, especially keeping in mind the current circumstances, which is definitely on attention, on focus, and also very, very importantly, the mental health of all students. So we would like to basically hear from you how we would like to take it forward and discuss it and mention it to all our students watching you live today.
Absolutely. I think we all are living in unprecedented times. All of us will agree that situations over the last couple of months has changed drastically in terms of the way we are operating as far as work is concerned, our personal lives, our social interactions are concerned. Now, humans over the years have adapted to changes that have occurred in their environment. It is adapting to technological advancements, adapting to lifestyle changes, adapting to social behaviors. But any drastic change that happens takes us off guard. And what I mean by taking us off guard is that it raises a lot of questions and doubts in our minds, a lot of uncertainties as to how to deal with those. Now, as a life coach and as a mentor to various professionals across industries for the last couple of weeks or months, we are seeing unprecedented rise in a lot of issues related to the emotional as well as the physical well-being of an individual. Now, as most of the people here, our audiences today are young students who are expected to make a future in the industry, are expected to start something of their own. I think one very important pertinent factor is first safeguarding their own physical as well as mental well-being as they prepare for the uncertain road that lies ahead of us. So what we'll be doing particularly, I mean, my organization, as Sanchari mentioned, Speaking Hat, we've been assisting individuals right from the level of school students up to individuals who are senior professionals in the industry through mentoring, coaching, and one-on-one sessions on dealing with questions that each one of them have with regards to their personal journey, their growth, what are the additional skills that you need to build over time to be able to address the changes that you're seeing in the environment around you. So what I'm going to be talking about today, my dear students and friends, is to do with focus and maintaining a harmonious balance of understanding and working with the digital world that is forced upon you now, and also making sure that you imbibe and learn as much as possible without letting that burn you out. Because as times will move forward, you will see that your reliance or dependence on technology will keep increasing over time. So what is it that the first question that probably needs to be answered is how do you keep yourself focused? How do you keep yourself from getting distracted? many of us, even why students, even professionals who are working either from homes or offices or handling different professions, complain of something known as digital fatigue. It has become the buzzword these days. Earlier, we had a lot of other words like professional burnout. Now, the new word or the new buzzword is digital fatigue. Most of you will agree that at the end of probably days session, which probably lasts a couple of hours because you have several different classes, lecturers logging in, talking to you. Yes,
Yes,
please.
Indrani, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I have a feeling that there is a voice cracking happening from your end, maybe because of the internet, because it's such
Just
an important session. We would all
certainly.
like to hear. Yes.
Is this better? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. We are able to hear you
Any
very
time.
well.
Okay, all right. Anytime you feel that the voice is cracking, please raise your hand so
Sure,
that I
I
check
would.
that.
I would. Definitely. Thank you,
That's
darling.
another reason for digital stress. I think all of us are also grappling with maintaining connectivity and seeing to it that we are as audible and as visible to people around us. So
Yes,
that adds
yes.
to the stress. As I was mentioning, my dear students, most of you are probably taking online classes now, away from the comfort of your homes, from the comfort of your homes, which can be a boon, which is an advantage because you're secure, you're in an environment where you are being cared for, but which can also add to a lot of stress because there are a lot of factors from the campus life which totally is missing. I think many of you will agree. In fact, I and Sanchari were just talking about this before we began the session, that learning is a combination of several factors. We learn through not only through what is being taught to us, but through the experiences around, through being with our peers, through observing their reactions, through observing what goes on in a typical classroom or college setting. Now, that's something that is gone totally missing in today's scenario. All of us are learning from the comfort of our homes. It's a great boon that we have the technology. Perhaps 30 years or 20 years back, we probably have been totally shut off from the world and we would have had to discontinue, have had a lag in learning, which is not happening. So that's great. And given the fact that I think your institute is taking a lot of pains to make sure that your learning quotient remains high and you are kept updated at every moment. So wonderful. But at the same time, I know that most of you are missing out on that college banter, being with your friends, going out to have those little snacks for lunch during break time, having those little or probably at times also bunking some classes and just going out and playing rookie. Many of you do that. We all have been through college. All of that has taken a backseat. Now you're at your home and you are supposed to log in and listen to a lecture, probably ask a few questions and log off. Now, what is it that is bringing in kind of digital fatigue that we're talking about? One, of course, is the excessive reliance on technology. We all know that it has a flip side. Many of you probably also feel that by the end of the session, it's really difficult to focus. It happens in physical sessions. We all are humans. We all have limited attention spans, and it varies from person to person. But then we all have limited life attention spans. But when it comes to technology, it becomes all the more limited. To make sure that you maintain your focus, you maintain your interest levels, there are a lot of aspects, a lot of points that one needs to take into account. The first most important point is not to have parallel digital platforms running when you are focusing on a particular session or a particular webinar or a particular talk. Most of us have this thing, a mobile kept on the side with the screen placed upwards. We see little notifications coming in, we see messages coming in. Though the phone is on mute, we also see calls coming in. And research says that people who switch between 2 or 3 more digital media while focusing on a particular module through maybe your Zoom or whatever, chance of their fatigue and chances of their burnout are much more than people who are focusing on one digital medium at one time. 75% of the people burn out faster if they are looking at 2 or different electronic medium of communication. So my dear friends, boys and girls, while you are in, I know it may be very tempting because I know a lot of young students while the class is on, their hangouts, their chat, their Insta chats are open. They are also probably talking about what the professor is talking, and while they're having fun in class, you tend to chat and say, hey, this class is so boring. I wish I could just log out and, some comments. There's a lot of chat going on. But believe me, over a period of time, there's a lot of uh, eye fatigue, there's a lot of brain fatigue, there's a lot of burnout that is associated with this. You will, I'm sure all of you have breaks between education. Taking breaks, getting out of the electronic media and taking physical old-fashioned breaks where you do not look at anything electronic is extremely important as well. Learn to blink, learn to look away from the screen for times. Nobody's watching you any which ways. You do not have to have eye contact with the screen for all 30 minutes or 40 minutes of a session. Please look away. Please stand up and stretch yourselves. And please take those breaks when those designated breaks are given to most of us. When one session ends and say there's a 10 to 20 minutes break in between, we virtually don't get up because at that time we're chatting with friends or searching something else on the internet, or probably catching up on those other social media. Probably by then you've opened browsers of Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever you have, and you have not actually, when you look back, you've seen that you've not taken a break for probably a continuation of 2 to 3 hours. Now that again reduces focus. So there are a lot of aspects like these which I can go on and on about. But the goal for you is to understand as to what makes you motivated, what keeps your focus alive, and what keeps you from getting tired or burned out. If it is getting up, taking a stroll in fresh air, please do that. If it is reading 2 pages of a book, a physical book, which is a page and paper book, not on your mobile or not on your Kindle, please do that. Some people love listening to music, tuning out for a while when they have a break. That is a perfectly valid way of de-stressing or taking that break. So focus is in your hand and you can very well do it, and you can still come back rejuvenated, refreshed, and pay attention to the session that you have to. Since we have to live with this, since we have to rely a lot on digital media, let us all discover and devise our own ways to make sure that the burnout and the fatigue is least that we can afford to.
Indrani, we have been hearing you very well, but then, still the voice has been a little kind of, there's a lag, a little disturbance. Is it because of the positioning of the laptop, Indrani, or, because we don't want to kind of, yes, we have been able to follow you though.
Yeah. I think it's the internet. I think there's some issues happening once in a while,
Yes.
and then
Because when you're talking,
again.
we're able to hear you very well. But the very moment you start with is, that's when basically there's also a sound which comes behind it.
A little metallic kind of.
Yes, little metallic kind of a sound. But though
Yeah.
we have been able to hear you, but it's just a little bit of disturbing, which is kind of causing a little issue in the ear. That's all, in hearing. But of course, it's not a problem at all. I think
I am just trying to switch the internet to a different username.
Yes, exactly. Indrani, we would like to basically know a potential. In fact, most of our students have been, of course, who have been a part of the online sessions for a very long time right now. So one thing is that, of course, they of course, talk a lot about, stress, which is relative to their eyes. Then they basically need gaps. Now, definitely there are quite a lot of gaps. And of course, online education has to continue. It is very, very important. Screen time in today's time is again very, very important way of handling it. We have to basically understand what is the most important, you can say factors across on the screen itself, which we have to give a lot of attention to. So what would you advise to the students, who are all into academics right now, who have to give a lot of attention to their studies, cannot really spare time for anything else apart from that at this point of time, but of course sitting at home, a lot of stress dwelling on them. What would be your advice for them?
Anchari and my dear students, I feel it is a combination of various factors. When we talk about stress or getting burnt out or fatigued, it's not just the physical aspects of being on electronic medium that is affecting students. I think, as you rightly said, it's the fact that they are away from the normal ways of college. They are not, most of you are not getting to meet your friends. Most of you are, cloistered in your homes, which may or may not be as pleasant an experience for you as it was when you were back in campus. It is also an added stress when you have the uncertainties of the scenario tomorrow. You don't know
Yes.
whether you're going to get placed, whether you're going to
Mhm.
start your own venture. Though I mean, I'll just divert from here, and I must laud IIHM's initiative called Sahas. I think it's brilliant that as an institute, you're thinking of promoting young entrepreneurs in the field of hospitality and food technology. And I think it is going to open up a lot of avenues for India. Forget, I mean, not just about students. It's going to probably bring about a lot more innovation and a lot more employability for people. So that's brilliant, but there always is that question mark in the minds of students, that will placements be as good? Will I be able to set up my own business venture? Will it click? Are people going to receive my innovative idea as well? So when we talk about burnout, when we talk about fatigue, and when we talk about stress, it's a combination of a lot of unsaid and unanswered questions. Now, what really needs to be addressed here, perhaps, is a holistic approach towards understanding what's going on inside you. What we need to fix, or what we always talk about, is having an acute sense of self awareness and understanding of where a particular emotion is rising from. If I say, many of us say this all the time, that I'm very stressed, I cannot handle this stress anymore. And there are times when I feel that, I'll give up, or I will. The other very often word, the often used word these days is, I am depressed. Now, many people use the word depressed without actually knowing what actually depression means. Mental health really definitely is a cause of concern these days, and with a lot of high profile cases coming up in social media and we know about them, all of us feel that we are in the same boat. We hear this from a lot of young people saying, oh, I am into depression. Now, what you need to understand, I'm not trying to undermine depression in any way. If anybody has a psychological issue, it is necessary to seek professional and medical help. But at the same time, every negative feeling or everything that makes you feel low at times is not depression. We need to first address the issues or the root causes that is making us feel a certain way. Now, it is something that I advise a lot of my clients and a lot of my students is to try and maintain a very healthy, self-regulated routine on a day-to-day basis, irrespective of where you are. When you were in school or when you were in college, you had a set time. If you were in college, you probably had a time when the alarm would ring in the morning. You would get up, get ready, and rush to your campus because you had to reach them before the first class starts. Now, do you have a class, but that's online, so it's okay to get up a little late. It's okay now to shower and sit for the class. It's all right. I'm at home. Nobody is going to see me. But if you maintain a routine on a day-to-day basis, if you start your day with certain positive practices, you will see that it goes a long way in addressing issues related to your mental and physical well-being. Now, we would not prescribe as to what those physical practices are and what will work for you and what will not. Some people like getting up at 5 in the morning, doing yoga, meditating before starting their day. Some people like getting up a little late because they like staying up late because their energy, their brain cells are activated later in the night. They're more creative, they can think better. So the body clock is yours, but you need to set a routine and a pattern. The more erratic your routine is, the more you're going to be burnt out. One day it's 8 in the morning, the other day it's 5 in the morning, you don't have lunch on time, you sleep at different points in time every day because you're probably chatting or you're playing games, because at the end of the day, all of us need to relax on my mind. But everything needs to happen in a dose, in proportions, in in which you are able to adhere or stick to a routine that you set for yourself. You may start off by doing that by keeping a small journal of how you're spending your day. Many students come back to us and complain that we feel we do not have enough time in spite of the fact that we are locked up at home the whole day. We feel we are not able to complete our projects. We feel that we have not anything worthwhile except attending classes. What we recommend to them in such cases is that do maintain a journal which talks about how you have spent your hours of the day to start off with. Probably in a couple of days, you'll get a hang of what are those unproductive waste of time which could be fixed. Again, my dear friends, when I say unproductive waste of time, I do not believe that do not have downtime or do not have fun time. All of you are entitled to your dose of fun, to your dose of television or music, or probably talking to your friends. It's absolutely needed that you need to do those to be happy and to be connected, but to kind of maintain a pattern or a routine to the entire thing. So starting off with a journal may be a good idea. Then correcting that journal and saying that, hey, when I'm getting up at 8 and I have class starting at 8:45, I am not able to focus in my first class because I'm still fuzzy and I slept pretty late. I probably slept at 2 because I was chatting with friends. And first class typically goes off in a kind of a day review or a scenario where I have not been able to focus, and I do something about it. Now that helps you work back to your schedule and look at what you need to fix that. These are small steps, little steps, which may sound unachievable or impractical because you're at home and many of you may come up with the question that, ma'am, but then we are already so bored. We interact with our friends, and how will we keep ourselves sane? As I said, you must do everything that is necessary to keep your social contacts up and running, to be happy, to be connected, but to maintain a routine in your lifestyle which helps you feel healthier, more energetic, more focused towards your sessions. So that probably is one good way of beginning. The other is, your life is yours alone, and your life is in no way comparable to your friends. All of us are so heavily dependent on social media, and all of you are probably watching us on Facebook right now, which is great. It's great that we have such great social media platforms to give us the connectivity that is necessary. But more often than not, we get influenced by looking at and comparing us with others through social media platforms. Somebody posts a great achievement of this on one particular day. Somebody says they've done this. Somebody has put something great. Somebody has painted something beautiful. Somebody's probably created something out of waste. And we admire for a moment, but the next moment we're like, oh, what did we do? Did we waste? Did our time go waste? Did we do anything worthwhile while this person has achieved so much? Now, all of you must realize that your journeys are your own, and it's up to you to understand what will make you happy and contented. So, over-reliance, over-dependence on social media and comparing your lives and comparing your pace and schedule with others may also lead to a lot of stress. So, please be mindful of that. Please maintain a healthy attitude from within. Please try and practice the art of being happy with what you have achieved, the art of gratitude, the gratitude that you are in a good college, you have a family to provide you security, you are still in a scenario where you can afford to be educated from the comforts of your home, when there are many whose educations whose jobs have got disrupted. So I think it's important that we count on our blessings before we look at things that are working for us in this setback situation. Yeah.
Right, Indrani. In fact, for our students, for this graduating batch of 2020, in fact, 2020, graduating batch is a very special batch because they're all, almost ready to embark their journey into the industry. In the meantime, it is definitely very difficult because they're not able to meet us physically, and we are also kind of alarmed a little bit. We are not able to bid them goodbye. physically as of now, it's all happening on a virtual space. But then definitely there is a lot of questions also around their minds as to how it would be when they're going and starting their journey, because it's going to be very, very different from what it was pre-COVID, right? So how does one handle that? I need to put in across that positivity is so important. But again, being circumstanced, I think there are a lot of things that they have to understand. And again, as industry, as we're all basically mentioning, they all have to be multifaceted, multi-skilled in order to go ahead and take any kind of work possible and of course deliver the best. So I would want to know your inputs on this as to how they can handle this and of course go ahead and start their career in this particular unit right now.
Absolutely. I think, Sanchari, that's a very valid question for many professionals across, not only in the hospitality industry. I think uh, industries are somewhere looking at ways in which roles can be redefined. People with uh, a definite skill set are being given roles which they have not played earlier, which they have not excelled in earlier. But given the current scenario, all companies, all organizations are doing the best they can to accommodate their valuable resources, to make sure that they are kept engaged, they are still valuable to the organization, and at the same time they are they do not become redundant in today's times. So one thing that students what we need to understand is that reskilling is the need of the hour. uh, there is a lot of unlearning that will happen in this process as well. What you have probably learned over the last 3 years in terms of inputs with related to the role that you had dreamt that you will play will take a back seat. Now, specifically in the hospitality industry, a lot depends on face to face interaction. Everything depends on how you gelled with the guest, how your entire interaction with the guest was in the facility, how well you manage the facility. Now there are several divisions that all of you have worked for: somebody for housekeeping, somebody for front office, somebody in F&B, and so on and so forth. Now you'll probably see that the lines are going to be blurred as far as these roles are concerned, because a lot of things now will involve you multitasking, becoming a jack of all, uh, but then also handling a lot of these portfolios from a distance, not being there physically to be able to convince your guests or clients or your managers. Now, the skills that you will probably need to develop over a period of time is to be able to, first is to be able to manage ambiguities and uncertainties, and how you can take decisions on your own, because a lot will depend on that. There will be a lot wherein people will rely on you to take decisions quickly, to be able to think of on the fly, and implement something that is necessary, because distances make it physically impossible to collaborate, to consult with people at times. The other is resilience and the ability to work with ambiguity, to know that you do not know what will happen tomorrow, to be able to uh, be comfortable with uncertainties, to be able to take one day at a time, to keep your spirits up, to have the spirit of hospitality in place, which talks about being there for the guest all the time, having put up your best foot forward, put your best foot forward, look your best, feel your best, and give your best, whether it is physically or through a distance. So everything that you've learned in your classroom is going to be valuable, no doubt, but then there will probably be a bit of tweaking, rethinking, and realigning priorities. As it is always said that whenever such disruptions in our normal day-to-day lives happen, it brings with that a lot of learning, a lot of relearning as to what we can do better as compared to what we've been doing till now. Probably a year down the line, we would be looking at the coronavirus pandemic as something of the past, of history, and we would all be back again in campuses. We would all probably be working physically at the places we are designated to work. But what is necessary or what is important is the lessons that these uh, times or these difficult situations teach us. Is there some way that I can do my interactions better? Can I groom myself better? to make sure that people trust me, people can find me approachable even through a screen. It becomes very difficult. It's a challenge. Trust me, I am a soft skills personal trainer, an attitudinal behavioral trainer.
Right.
We are working with people like you through this distance where I'm not able to connect with a lot of you. I cannot see your faces. I do not know what you're thinking. So it is a challenging proposition. When I'm in a classroom or in a setup where there's a workshop going on, it's easier for me to gauge your emotions, your responses, to be able to tailor mine accordingly.
Yes.
But we need to adapt, we need to adjust, and we need to learn. Keep learning, keep yourself motivated. When I say learning, learning is not just limited to your professional sphere. I know all of you have a lot on your plate. You have projects, you have assignments, but also learn something which you really love. You know, it could be, for some of you, it could be a foreign language. For some of you, it could be history. For some of you, it could be poetry or writing. Given the fact that COVID has at least opened up this avenue for us, you need not rush to a place for classes. You have online classes being offered even by international universities. Whatever makes you motivated and makes you add value, please do that, because that keeps your sanity intact. You know, I know a lot of your ex students who've now passed out who are writing beautiful articles. Some of them are doing courses on psychology, on the
Yes.
mental well-being of people, to help people out. There are people who are making beautiful things out of waste. IIHM organizes competitions on that.
Yes.
I know, waste out of bin. So
Right.
if you have hidden potentials, hidden capabilities, please don't keep them aside. This is the best time to nurture them. You will not get this opportunity when you're back in campus again. Trust me, you will hardly have any time to breathe. So do that, because that adds to your sense of self-worth, which is extremely important to keep going in scenarios like this. So yeah, I think that's important.
Indrani, first of all, thank you so much for actually following all our students' work and seeing every part of it, because I think that's great. You can say encouragement and support that you have actually, actually shown towards us and, of course, our students. Having, of course, keeping such a busy schedule yourself, working with the corporates and with all the other institutes also. And we know how much, you do entire day. And I know that very well. But then still you're keeping a tab on that. That's really very encouraging. Indrani, there's a very important, you can say part of the year 3, especially because the very moment students get into the final year, there are too many things to do, as you know already, taking care of their campus placement interviews, having their assignments, projects. So we keep on telling them about something which is very factual and important, and that is time management. Now, being far from them, living in a virtual world, and only talking about that, it is very difficult for even educators to sometimes go ahead and deliver and express what they really want. How do you think that, the educators, the teachers should basically learn from that, so that students understand the importance of time management and how can they handle it?
I think this is a very, very pertinent and difficult challenge faced by most of the educators, whether it is across, from the school levels to the postgraduate levels. Because, as you rightly said, here what is absent is we are not able to impose a formal schedule as far as the students are concerned, or as far as their entire day's activities are concerned.
Yes.
As long as we are with them when the session is concerned, fine, but thereafter we have no control. What it is a combination of how well are we able to keep them motivated with the kind of work that they need to do, and the kind of deadlines that we are setting for them, uh, coupled with daily follow-ups and mentoring in a way which does not necessarily push them or pressurizes them in such uncertain scenarios, because all of them are already pressurized. There's a lot, as I mentioned, is happening on both the sides. It's not just students who are pressurized, by the way, students, it's the teachers who are equally, the educators who are having an equally difficult time, because for them too this shift is enormous. having to take virtual classes, having to plan everything in a way where technology doesn't come in the way of your learning, making sure that you're delivering from the distance where you are, it's an equally big or even bigger challenge for the educators. So this message goes out to both the student and the educators. One is that time never comes back. It's like a flowing river. This might sound very philosophical, but especially in your third years, as Sanchari just mentioned, it's one of the most crucial years for you, as far as your stepping stone or your threshold of entering into the real world, as we say it, the corporate world, or the world where you start living on your own, is about to begin. So, what we need to understand is that if we don't start respecting our time now, nobody else will. Even in we are, as a country too, at times we are notorious for the fact that we are okay with coming in for a session 5 minutes later. We are okay with going for an invitation, an informal invitation, say a wedding or a family invitation, half an hour late. That's considered fashionable. We think it's okay. If somebody has called us, we shouldn't land up right on time. But across the world, time is considered as the most precious commodity, and people value you as a person. Your character, your individuality is valued on the basis of how well you can maintain and keep time. So that's something that educators also need to reiterate and communicate. I think anything that is communicated to today's generation has to be done through experiential anecdotes or events that has affected us in real life. Because if I talk about an experience which has affected me, I think that'll resonate more with the students as compared to me just saying, hey, you know what, you should maintain time and you should be punctual and you should not be late and you've not been submitting your things on deadline. Because that's how the generation today is wired. They will not listen to it in that way. So even for educators, it is necessary to weave in your personal experiences when you're talking about time management or when you're motivating your students, because I think that's what is going to go a long way. And you will see that every student values or deals with time in different ways. There are some people who find it difficult to cope with the pressures, with the demands of time, because of certain probably certain things that they do need more time, or they have other external pressures at home, or there's a technological issue, while there are some students who just take it as a part of their habit. Now, for educators, it is also necessary to segregate and understand as to how we need to motivate those two different kinds of people as far as time management is concerned. But my dear students, as I said, like, you will know countries like Japan, where we can probably also set our clocks by the time a person arrives for a meeting. If you tell somebody to come at 2 p.m., they will come at 2 p.m. and not at 2:01. So it shows the respect that you have towards the other individual. So it's extremely important. In the beginning, I said about maintaining a journal. This is also a part of the journal. This shows you as to how much of your time through the day has gone into activities which you did not even realize was unproductive, or has just gone by because you did not value your time, or you did not value somebody else's time. So I think it's extremely pertinent that you take into consideration this very important aspect.
Absolutely agree with you, Indrani, on that. And I'm sure that everybody, certainly both educators and all our students, also should be giving this a lot of value and should be enforcing them in their lives. There's a very important question. In fact, one of our students have asked, Indrani, I would like to put it across to you. How do we differentiate between anxiety and stress as an emotion, and repercussions of both? Are they very similar in nature?
So, stress is a much wider term. Anxiety is a byproduct of stress. Now, you will see various manifestations of stress, and it differs from individual to individual. Anxiety, as you said, anxiety is just a very, very small part in which shows, or which is a reflection of the fact that your brain or your mind is stressed. There are people who start feeling a particular sensation, a physical sensation in their body when they're anxious. Somebody has their hearts beating faster, some people start sweating, you will see hands trembling when you are anxious. You will probably see that your ability to communicate coherently or to think clearly also at times gets affected because you're anxious. Now try and understand that all of these arises from stress, which is like a bigger picture. Stress happens, stress builds up over time, and there are several stressors in our life, couple of them internal and couple of them are external. Now as we were mentioning through our talk, it could be, for every individual it will differ. What may be a stressor for you may not be a stressor for your friend. But when you are stressed over a period of time, you will see that your physical conditions also start responding that way and you are anxious. Anxiety can be controlled at that moment by taking deep breath, meditation. For stress, you need to first holistically understand yourself well. You need to first try and break down as to what causes it. Are these, again, as I said earlier, are these your physical practices through the day? If you get up late and rush for your first class, does that stress you out? Does a conversation with your parent, which is not so pleasant, stress you out? Does a social media post by a so-called friend but whom you consider as a competitor stress you out? Does any other relationship issue stresses you out? It could be several factors or a combination of all of those. Once you understand those, then there are several techniques to deal with them. Anxiety, as I said, is just a physical manifestation of stress. When you just see yourself, behaving a particular way, your heart beating fast and you are not able to think clearly, you can slow those down. You can breathe deeply, you can take a pause, you can drink water, you can meditation. I highly recommend some little amount of meditation to everybody. And again, please don't think of meditation as something which only saints or sadhus can do. Even if you can take 5 minutes of your day to just do nothing but focus on your breath and think of nothing, just close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out. I think that will go a long way in setting a routine and setting a practice to keep your anxiety and keep your stress at bay. So yes, anxiety is a part of stress, but a smaller part. Stress is much bigger. Try tackling and understanding and breaking it down from the very beginning. And of course, we all are there to help you on that.
Absolutely. Indrani, something which is very basic and we would all want to know is currently with technology taking care of everything, virtual lessons, everything happening across different platforms. What are the etiquettes that one needs to basically have, both for the learner's side as well as the one, who is actually going ahead and teaching? Very important.
Yeah, so a couple of things which do come across as common. Of course, I think one which most of you will know is when see, technology doesn't respond the way a classroom scenario responds. In classroom, we all can talk at the same time and we are still heard, or at least a cacophony of voices are heard. In technology, the moment there are more than one voices, you tend to have like a jumble or an echo, which is the first basic pointer to understand, that which I think most of you know and which you follow, is to keep your mics on mute and to keep your cameras off, which many a times I see even now in sessions where there are a lot of people involved, people forget. And they've kept their cameras on and they're getting up, going, getting a cup of tea, and the educator or the trainer is distracted because they can suddenly see one person moving or probably talking to somebody else, and that can be a big distraction. One very big etiquette for everybody in terms of interacting through technology is, please be aware of your backgrounds, because that can be either a great point of focus or distraction. It's not cool to sit in a shabby avatar and talk to people, even if it's an informal discussion. Or it's not good to have a background which causes distraction. It could be anything, a TV running in the background, or I have come across some such interactions where there was somebody who was training and there was this pile high of unironed clothes kept on one side of the person, and my attention kept going through to that pile of clothes. I almost felt like, hey, give those to me. I will arrange, I will iron them and keep them nicely for you. So your background matters a lot. It's good to have a neutral background if possible. It's good. We all know that all of you are working from homes, and it's not possible to have an office like background and an office like, you know, ambience or environment all the time. But as far as possible, try and segregate your workplace or your study place from the place that you generally interact with your family. That's extremely important. um, when you're chatting or asking, when you're asking questions, you have a technology to raise your hand and to ask your questions in chat, which I think most of you know and you follow. So that is important. um, Also, what you need to understand is that when you're talking on electronic media, you need to probably go a little slower than what you should in class. That gives that little space for people to ask questions or to probably raise their hands. Because if you're going too fast, one is that people may miss out the very essence of what you're saying. See, even today while we were interacting, technology has been an issue. There are some words which are getting lost. There are
Yes.
some things that you are not able to hear. So if you take those pauses, be clear, be slow, it's easier for the others to digest and it's easier for the others to interject and ask questions. So that's important. But again, the very important or the most important aspect here too is time, especially in a meeting where it's a collective meeting where many people are expected to log in. It's absolutely a no-no to log in 5 minutes after the session has begun or after the interaction has begun. It not only distracts everybody else, again, it kind of puts the entire session haywire, because they have to, you know, you probably have just entered and you say, hello ma'am, good morning ma'am, or whatsoever. So that's not acceptable. Even when you will be in your professional meetings with your colleagues, the least that would be expected of you is to be on time. This is not a boardroom where you can just open the door and rush in and say, hey, sorry, you know, there was traffic on the road. Nobody is going to pardon you for the fact that you were at home and there was no traffic, you had nowhere to go. You would rather log in a little earlier and be around. So I think these are a few things that are most important. um,
Yes.
there may be a lot more which one has to really think of, but as of now I think these are important as far as
Right.
electronic communication.
Yes. Also, Rani, especially, when we are holding a class, and many times it happens that when we are especially taking a personality development class, it's very important that we get to see our students,
Hmm.
right? And even though, those are only on the blocks maybe, but then still, it's very important for us to, in fact, catch the glance and see that, yes, they are immaculately dressed and giving a smile, giving, of course, smiling and looking at you at the camera. Is it very, very important for students to continue doing so? Because certain times we do struggle when we don't get to see the kid, having the camera on. We don't know whether he or she is even listening to us, for instance.
Absolutely.
Can that be a big challenge, Indrani, in grooming any particular students?
It is. See, as I said, as far as personality development or soft skills are concerned, a lot lies on how you are perceived by others. You know,
Mm-hmm.
personality or your soft skills are all about what others are thinking of you. What is the image that you're trying to project? Now,
Yes.
an image is a sum total of your outward appearance as well as your behavior, your communication skills, your overall persona. Now, when an educator is training on personality development, if you do not see the validation of your work or the tips that you're providing, at times it can get very disorienting. So, because at the end of the day, training of any kind is also about course correction, giving people guidance midway if one feels that, you know, your students are not able to perceive what you've said correctly. So, and looking at them, responding to them when you can see them on video becomes a little easier. But then, as you rightly said, now if there are 100 people logged in at one point in time, you may probably only be able to see clusters of them or blocks of
Yes.
them. We
Yes.
have to make do with what little we can at this juncture. I'm sure there will be a lot more advancement in technology probably in the couple of coming months when things become more clearer and we can see a lot more people together. But yes, of course, it's a challenge. It is for educators, and we have to try and keep our spirits up and do the best as we can in terms of substituting this for classroom training. But going forward, this may be how training will be conducted. The good side of it is that we can avail the best resources, people across the world to come and be a part of our virtual classrooms. We do not really need to rely on distances, physical boundaries, geographies. So that's a great part. Students now have the opportunity to listen to everybody and anybody across the world. So I think we should look at that as a blessing in some way.
Lovely. Indrani, we are almost reaching towards the end of this session. But then I think that, with the topics that we're discussing today with you, these are something, on which we can continue speaking. And there's so many things to learn from you, right? So coming to that point, I have one question to ask you, Indrani. That would be, now due to the current situation, we have to be prepared differently as we'll be having virtual interviews. What do you think is the most important aspect to keep in mind while preparing for the same?
So, look here again, as I said earlier, a lot of the onus will lie on the students themselves. I think a lot will depend on the amount of self-regulation and self-discipline that students can bring into this entire regime. Uh, as I mentioned, and I will reiterate that IIHM has been providing a fantastic or phenomenal amount of support to each and every student as far as grooming them for interviews, for their entrepreneurial journey, or for placements is concerned. But given the physical distances, given the uncertainties, and also given the fact that even the companies will be conducting interviews in a different format now, a
Yes.
lot will depend on how students start preparing themselves. They have to start taking up this challenge right away, even if placements may happen 3 months down the line. One is keeping themselves well informed about the changes in the hospitality industry, the current trends, which all of you are already doing. But at the same time, what are those innovations? What are those little practices which can bring about those little revolutions or little changes in the industry, which will be helpful in battling with the current scenario? Uh, Doing your homework very well is very, very important, students. This is something that I had reiterated even in my classroom sessions. It always pays to have your pitch ready. Your trainers, your teachers, your faculty can help you with your preparation, how to be well dressed, how to talk well for an interview, what are the probable questions that will be asked. But nobody knows you better than yourself. Even a simple question, or the first introductory question that most corporates asked, is introduce yourself or take me through your journey. And most of us underestimate a question as critical or as crucial as this. We think, this is something that will be asked and we know what to answer. But trust me, my dear friends, it's a good idea to start preparing for a question as basic as this from now. Have your own narrative, have a story which works for you. When I say a story, I'm not telling you to form a fictional and a story which is not your story. What I'm telling is write it down, practice it, think over from the perspective of how your journey has been over the last couple of years, maybe from your school years to your college, to the projects that you have done, to the person you are, to what your beliefs are, and to what your dreams are for yourself and for the society. So, starting to practice on aspects of yours which you think should be your shining points, your highlights, are your job. Nobody else can point that to you. My facets are mine. What are my qualities will always be mine, and nobody can bring them out the way I can if I give it proper thought. So, try starting to prepare on those. Your, as I said, your faculty and other external trainers will always be there to help you, because everything is going to be distant. There will be a lot of things missing. Part of your body language is going to be missing. We've been taking sessions on body language, on the importance
Right.
on handshakes, on
Exactly.
how you need to sit on a chair, how you need to enter while you open the door. All of these make an impression for the corporates. But here, trust me, my dear friend, all of these are now cut out. They're missing. What is going to matter is your face on the screen and what you talk and how you communicate. So you have to really ace up on those to make up for those missing aspects which would have been possible through a physical interaction.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for explaining this so well, Indrani. That's really helpful for all of us. And I'm certain that, students will be getting a lot of insight from this. We have a very nice question here, something, which we keep hearing from a lot of our students, and I'm sure they'll be able to relate to this. Again, very sensitive and quite personal, but then I'm sure that you'll be able to give us a good answer on this. How do you think I can get help from family to reduce stress and fight depression? I'm not comfortable opening up to my family. A lot of our students actually ask us this.
This is very natural. You are not alone. Understand that all of us are in a stage or a phase of life where we have already started developing our own individualities. Till we are in school, or till we are, say, aged 12 or 13, we still think of ourselves as a holistic part and parcel of our parents' personalities. We think whatever they say or how they believe is how we should believe. But as we grow older, our perspective starts widening. We start having other role models to follow, and we see ourselves as different entities from our parents. And that's where a lot of battles within us start. Many of us feel that our parents don't understand us as much as they used to earlier. Many of us even go to the extent of telling that they don't love us anymore. Many of us always have this feeling of angst and bitterness within us, feeling that how do I even make my parents understand what I'm going through? Now, trust me, my dear friends, I'm not telling this because I have already crossed that age and I'm probably a parent myself, but your parents always have your best interests in mind. They may come with a different thought process because of the um, society that they belong to, or the upbringing that they have had, which may be different from the upbringing that they have given you. They may have other societal pressures, they may have other financial pressures, and some things that they say may seem as you feel that they have not understood you, but probably there's nobody who can understand you as well as your parents. You need to take those little steps. You have probably also closed the door somewhere. We physically also close the door when we become teenagers. We say, stay out of our room, this is, I need my privacy. That's good, we all need our privacy, and I'm not telling you that you should not be the individual that you are, or you should not walk in the shadows of your parents' lives. But opening up is a simple act of courage. um, just telling them little things about the difficulties that you're facing may help them understand you, may help them give simple advices that you never thought they will be able to. Probably they have gone through similar situations in life. If at all you still feel that after having interacted or after having tried to put across a point which has not been understood by them, do not feel disheartened or do not give up, because there are other avenues, there are other people waiting out there to listen to you as well. I think that your faculty, maybe not everybody has their favorites. You might say so and so teacher is my favorite, or so and so ma'am or sir understands me better than others. Feel free to open up or talk to a person whom you feel you're the most comfortable with. If you feel that the barrier at this juncture with your parents is impenetrable, reach out to somebody else, but slowly make an effort with maybe very little instances of conversations which you were not having with your parents. Make an effort. I am sure they have the best interests of yours in their mind. They probably, nobody perhaps loves them as much as you do. So I mean, loves you as much as they do. They will understand, they will empathize, and they will probably try to hold your hand in this difficult journey. But if that doesn't work, friends, colleagues, or probably faculty is out there to help you. Please talk to somebody. That's most important. I'm sure you're seeing it all over Facebook these days, but do not keep feelings, or do not keep difficulties or challenges to yourself. To talk to somebody. My first advice will still be your parents, but if that doesn't work, then probably your teachers or your friends or a relative whom you feel will understand you better.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Indrani. It has been really an amazing journey with you today during this entire conversation. We learned and we exchanged so much of great thoughts. And I'm very certain that, all of us watching you on Zoom and definitely on the other platforms has really gone ahead and, learned and taken a lot from this entire conversation. Thank you so much, Indrani. It has been a pleasure having you today, this afternoon. Lovely Saturday afternoon in Bangalore. It's about to rain in some time. And I really hope where you are in Pune, you're also having a great weather as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is about to rain here too, and it has been lovely interacting with you, Sanchari, and with all the students out there whom I know are listening to me. And as
Yes.
you mentioned earlier, I love following the work of each and every dear student of ours whom I have interacted with over the last 2 years. They are all very dear to me. They
Yes.
have hold a special place in my heart, and that will continue to be so. So I encourage all of you to reach out at any point in time that you have a difficulty, and please keep doing the good work that all of you are. All of you are great, creative people with such hidden talents. Please keep that up. Don't get bogged down by the scenario that is today. This is going to change. This
Yes.
too shall pass.
Absolutely. I so much, I'm completely in agreement with you because this is just a phase that we are all dealing with and we are learning so much with it. We're actually valuing our relationships, our friends, our work, for instance, and definitely whatever we are involved in. So on that note, I would like to basically bid goodbye to all of you here. Thank you very much, Indrani, very much. And definitely we look forward to see you in person very soon in Bangalore.
It will be my pleasure. Thank you very much, Sanchari, and everybody from the team IIHM. Look forward to seeing you all soon.
Look forward and have a great evening ahead,
Same
everybody.
to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.